Anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks. Ça, c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout Geoguessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Come on. Yeah. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bakva, okay, Bakvaz is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma
Poi, dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? Here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the Hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that's because it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, ça son chassé, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora, editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo Geoguessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Boyd, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That's also. How are the boys? Cocine ta boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenas, proteine. Topolo. In the designated chicken eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Monsieur. Livre. Liwe, livre.
Paks.
Mustan kissan paksut posket.
Maciej. Ja. Si. Vysoký. Maciej. Proč? Víte. Počkej. A. Si. Track 6.
Aspri Petra xes aspri apton ilio xex asproteri. Aspri Petra xes aspri apton ilio xes asproteri.
Coginio panas.
Oh boy.
Ferra verda ferra ferda vetri.
هقب هفد
Perfect.
هفد
Perfect.
هفد هفد هق هق هق
Саша по шоссе.
А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку. А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку.
معلمة.
Ah, this is Arabic. And it's from Mu'allim.
Juma ni mwalimu mkenya. Trakt
Ирак чима в чипах чемп чавю чи ченчи чини. Чирак чима в чипа да, чирак чима в чипцах чемп чав.
Hey, Hogsnout, thanks for that. Yeah, I turned that off. I was recording. There were some clips that I needed to get for the video that I was finishing up yesterday that we're gonna look at in a little bit. Actually, maybe I should just do the intro all over. But I couldn't get like the YouTube downloader to work on them, so I just used OBS to record it. And to ensure there wasn't any noise, I turned off the input from the mic. So that's what happened there. Okay, so let's do this over. Good that I noticed this. Thank you so much for telling me. There have been times when I've been on here for like half an hour before somebody says something. Hey, Riveroon. Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise again. The stream where we're going to be playing some Geoguessr, as we are doing the daily challenge, and we're gonna look at the new video that I made and uploaded last night, which is about comprehensible input. We're gonna talk more about comprehensible input and how all that stuff works. Okay, I think this might be New Zealand, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Those signs feel kind of NZ-ish. Gonna say someplace on North Island, and either I'm close or oh well, there we go. Hey Ata. Okay, this feels like South America maybe. It is definitely not South America. That's Thai. We're in Thailand someplace. Seems urban, we'll just say Bangkok. Not bad. Okay, this feels German. It's my immediate vibe that I get from these houses. German or Austrian. A street sign would clear this up pretty quickly. Not seeing. Oh wait, here we go. Pojemnik na odzież używana. No, not Germany, Poland. We're someplace in Poland, someplace suburbanish. Oak. Never heard of oak. Still not bad. For sale to let hectares. Best threesome in town, which is hamburger related. We're in an English speaking place. We sell petrol. Definitely not North America. And yeah, left side driving, which is precisely what I would have expected. Manor Heights. Something tells me that this is not Britain. This just does not feel like Britain. Yeah, nothing about the... Okay, Australia, South Africa, maybe. Swimming not recommended. Republic of South Africa. Ukukwe. Okay, Ukukupa apa kunga no bungozi genka yong kolisego lwamanzi. Zwemmen aanbevel als gevolg van mondelijke waterbesoedeling. Ons, okay. Ons is in KZN. I think we are in KwaZulu-Natal. $32.05. 21,696. Not too bad, not bad for a time control. Okay, there we go. How are all your creatures, Riveroon? Okay, no time control. Hotel Appris. Okay. Feels very continental. Wir fahren mit bis zu 90% weniger CO2-Ausstoß, powered by HVO 100. Okay, that was not... I wasn't intending to do that. But, okay, so... Thing is, that is a tour... That is like a chartered coach, so... That does not necessarily mean we're in a German-speaking place. Budapest Flughafen. Austria Center. Messezentrum Prater. Wien. Wir sind in Wien. Vordere Zollamtsstraße. Und ja, in der Nähe von der A4. Austria Center ist ja auch gleich da. Okay, we are in Vienna. One of my favorite places to be, actually. Okay, where's my map? There we go. So, the Austria Center is nearby, the A4 is nearby. Erdberg, Schloss Belvedere. Prater's not far either. Kustotzer, Hetzgasse, Marxergasse, Radetzky Straße. Okay, and what was that street called? Vordere Zollamtsstraße. Hey, Hexen Definitive. Ah, Wien indeed. Okay. Vordere Zollamtsstraße. Okay, we are very near the Prater and let's see, Vivariumstraße, Dampfschiffstraße, Krieglergasse, Adamsgasse, Hetz, the Marx, hintere Zollamtstraße. Okay, wenn die hintere Zollamtstraße da ist, dann müsste die vordere A in der Nähe sein. What kind of foster puppy? I miss everything. Werdertorgasse, obere Donaustraße. Okay. Aber hintere, dann wo ist denn vordere? Hintere in Bezug auf was? Landstraße, Hauptstraße, Invalidenstraße. Kardinal-Nagelplatz. Augartenstraße, Nordbahnstraße. Oh, come on, this can't be too far. It's gotta be around here someplace. I mean, it's near some sort of big, roundabout-y kind of thing. Strom, Dresdner Straße, Bassetti Straße. Friedrich-Engels-Platz. Heiligenstadt. I'm moving around in the other, in my large map, because I don't like... I know I'm already very close here. Oh, well, that's good. We rescued a golden retriever from a mill years ago. So you get a more street names. Another street name would certainly be helpful. Wiener Festwochen. Nichts nice. Okay, so we're right. Oh, we're right on. Okay, we are right on the edge of either the canal or the river. That's useful. Either way, the water is right there. Bei der Strandbadstraße. Leonhard Bernsteinstraße. Yeah, no, we're not on the island. We are definitely right on the edge. I can't tell whether that's the canal or the actual proper river, though. Okay, let's see. Hotel Urania. For cars. Oh wait, Radetzky Straße is right there, and this is still Hintere Zollamtstraße. So Hintere Zollamtstraße is right on the water. Though it's not clear to me which water. Wait, let me see. Rudolf Nureyev Promenade. Österreichische Wasserrettung. Okay. So we're right on the water. Okay, so maybe it is the canal and not the actual Donau City, Papstwiese. Donaukanalstraße, Nussdorfer, Lende, Mooslackengasse. Donaupromenade. Okay. Kallenberger Dorf. One of the best sort of places to do. Obere Donaustraße. To get just overviews of the entire city is right on is on the Kahlenberg. You can just see the entire city center from there. You get amazing pictures. Nice pub at the top of it too. Well, we're someplace around here. 49.97, not a bad start. 205. Eric's excavating North American, U.S. Canadian style phone numbers. Rite Aid Pharmacy. That's sounding US. Let's see what we get when we head over here. Yeah, we're in the US. That is a state route sign for one of the states that I'm not actually sure about. Speed limit 35. Yeah, we're in the US 100% now. Okay, but the question is where exactly? There are states, well, like a lot of the states have very distinctive, easily identifiable designs for their state route signs. They're either the shape of the state or there's something that is clearly associated with the state. Like Washington State, it's like the silhouette of George Washington's head. But then there are these where you've got nothing. Absolutely nothing to go on here. Bellwood Plaza, the Guilty Plate, Cap and Cork. A drive-in theater, neat. Official Vermont inspection now due. Thank you. Okay, thank you, MOT Center. We now know we're in Vermont. Okay, cool. So, let's find... Where was that state route sign? Vermont 127. $130 125 Saluton Tux 2. Is this your first time here? The name isn't immediately ringing a bell, but I'm not entirely certain. 103 279 Dummerston, great name there. $103. We're looking for 127. Well, good to see you again. As we sit here someplace in Vermont. There's the 125. Duxbury. Groton, that is home to, like, the U.S. answer to Eton, basically. Around here, there's also... That's strange. Oh, well. Nothing I can do about it just now, because I have to actually charge my phone so that I can log into fucking Twitch to fix that. I do sometimes stream, Oxygen not included, just not today. Today we are in Vermont, looking for the Route 127. $114. Oh wait, this is already New Hampshire. That's useless. I only ever end up in New Hampshire unintentionally. Okay, 127 is a north-south route, so that's kind of handy. Antrim. Oh, wait, we're already... No wonder. Okay, we're all the way into New Hampshire again. $130, 11... Tunbridge. It's like Tunbridge Wells. Or Royal Tunbridge Wells, as they like to call themselves now. Probably for a long time. Colchester. Named after a shit town in Essex. After a Let's see, if we got any other information we can get out of this area. Okay, let's see what else we can get on this 127. Maybe it will give us a place name to look for. Zachary's Pizza Restaurant. Quote unquote, the bar open daily. So what, it's not really a bar? The bar is open daily. What is it really? Colchester Family Eye Care. Okay, that helps us out. So, I was talking about a place named after a shite town in Essex. It seems that that's where we are. Ah, there's the 127. Oh, wait, I was looking for the wrong Colchester there. Okay, here we go. The other Colchester. Which, for all I know, is quite nice. I mean, look at Spare Boston and Original Boston. You really can't deny that Spare Boston is much nicer. $49.78, not bad. $99.75. Okay, we are definitely not in New England. In fact, I think probably Southeast Asia, looking at this. Possibly Indonesia is my immediate guess, though it could be Thailand. We're going to need to see some signs or something to know what language they're in. I mean, thinking about it, there are also bits of... hang on, that was like a collective. Minibus taxi kind of thing. Can't actually see anything written on it. Bit of fly tipping going on around here. Okay, a shop. Dejarum Super Mild. Peringatan Merokok Membu no Uhumu. Okay, we are in Indonesia, someplace. I don't even bother trying to get too specific about Indonesia because there's just too much of it and it's too spread out. I'm going to say someplace around Sumatra. And I was wrong. We are in West Nusa Tenggara. 1406. Well, I'm not beating any personal records on this go-around. Okay. Long, fairly well-maintained road with fuck all anywhere. Very flat, so not Chile. It's a Mercedes. But this does not strike me as continental. Okay, so let's see, are we ever going to get anything indicative of our location beyond sort of dry, flat, scrubby buildings. Oh, it looks like a sign coming up. It's not a sign, it's a building. Canal. Let's see. Does this building tell us anything? Is it an informative building? I mean, the barbed wire is of the sort I've seen in some parts of Latin America. We could be in Argentina. I mean, long and flat and everything being as it is. Transporte. Okay. Latin America appears to be a safe bet. Transportes Cantarini. Yes, okay. Argentina, it's not beating the Argentina rap yet. Very Italian name, but Hispanic. Yeah, I mean, thing about this is, without any place names to go on, there's a huge area that's like this in Argentina. Also, Uruguay. I've been getting Uruguay a lot lately. This could be Uruguay. At the very least, I've not seen anything that tells me it definitely isn't Uruguay. We have a sign. Puerto Madryn. Puerto Madryn is named after, that is the Uladva. That is the place where they invented the Welsh decimal system. We're 72 miles away from that. Hello, Badger. We are 72 kilometers, rather, 139 from Rawson, and Esquel, 723, all apparently on this road. Okay, so we're in the bit of Patagonia that Welsh people... Ah, yeah, there's Puerto Madryn. There's Rawson. Which direction are we headed on there? This is going southeast. So, okay. 72 kilometers northwest of Puerto Madryn. Trelew, it looks like it could be Mapudungun. But in fact, it is Welsh. So we must be on Ruta 3. Because there's just not much else it could be. I'm gonna say someplace around here. 4870. Okay. Hedgerows. Lots and lots of hedgerows and hills. Okay, immediate thought is possibly Britain. Yeah, I mean, this does feel like the countryside in Britain. But there are certainly bits of the 6 counties that look almost identical, so we can't be entirely certain of that. Very pretty anyway. They do countryside quite well. These hedgerows are fascinating. They're just entire little ecosystems. All sorts of different plants and animals living in them. Helston and Exeter. Oh, we are in Devon-ish. Ooh, Devon. I miss Devon. Devon's lovely. We're in South Devon as well. Okay, there's Exeter. Helston I've never heard of. But this whole area is just, the Dartmoor area is just absolutely stunning. One of my favorite places. Taking some amazing pictures around there. Have some good friends around there as well. Ottery St. Mary. Newton Poppleford. Great names. Great names. Morton Hampstead, one of the longest place names in Britain. I think it may be the longest place name in England. Okay, so it looks fairly certain that we are in South Devon. So, I mean, that's going to be a treat. Holsworthy, Bradworthy, Buckland Brewer, Inwardly, Highampton or Highampton, Mary Tavy, Tavistock, Whitchurch, Asper Whitchurch, Sheep's Tor, been there. Bigbury on Sea, Slapton, Ipplepen, Newton Abbot, that is Cockwood. They have great place names around here. Look, just right, and across from Cockwood on the River Exe is Limpstone. Budley Salterton. South Devon. According to the van that we just passed, this is someplace not far from, probably not far from Exeter. At least the company has locations in Exeter and Helston. So we're in South Devon. But not... So far, there haven't been any place names that I've actually heard of other than Exeter. I mean, but this looks like this can't be far from the moor. That's not a bad assumption. Chudley. Rangerton, Didworthy, Loddiswell, Harbertonford, Ugborough, Totnes. Oh, the South Devon Railway. From Buckfastleigh to Totnes. Okay. Tor Bryan. Woodtown. It's really not giving. It's like studiously avoiding place names in Devon that I'm familiar with, or that show up on the thing about South Devon is you have to zoom very far in on the map to find most of the places there, because it is not exactly a bustling metropolis, other than Plymouth, and Plymouth is just Plymouth. One thing I learned in Devon from my friend Lucy is there's wild garlic growing in these hedgerows. There's also foxglove growing in these hedgerows, also known as digitalis. And I learned very quickly that I was not going to be foraging for wild garlic because I could not tell the wild garlic from the foxglove. Driving around here would be just a nightmare. You'd be just constantly reversing. I did not know that. Very interesting. I didn't notice what foxglove smelt of. I think foxglove may actually be, like, taxonomically related to the wild garlic. Foxglove is a plant that grows in the wild, and it is used to make medication called digoxin, which is, okay, Biddeford and Torrington. We're 6 kilometers away from Biddeford. I know Biddeford. Finally. Okay, so, Biddeford, we are indeed on the moor. Yeah, it makes a cardiac medication. You can make a cardiac medication out of it called digoxin, and if you take it and you don't have a particular need for it, it can kill you. God, I know. Okay, where exactly is Biddeford though? There's Widdicombe. I know Biddeford is around this general area. Hexworthy. That's a great name. Wonder what happened there to get it that name. Worthy of a hex. Widden Town, South Zeal, Sticklepath. Okay, there's Oakhampton, Sutherley, Broadbury, Patchicot, Germans Week. Ah, are they? Well, they look very similar to me anyway. I will leave the foraging to other people. Hole's Hole. It's... Oh, well, okay, that's a relief. Blagden. Biddeford. Where the fuck was Biddeford again? I know it's in this area. French beer. Great town name there. Yes, I feel like I did read about that. Goldworthy, Holsclose, Tucking Mill. Parkham, Bradworthy, Torrington. God. Foxglove is in the same family as, like, bananas? Is Tiverton, Silverton. Biddeford. It's by Westward Ho. The only place name I know of that has a fucking exclamation mark in it. Yeah, okay, we're on the A386. Got it. So, not South Devon, actually. More North Devon. $49.87. 21,238. Okay, I've got enough power in here that I can do the log into fucking Twitch. And fix... Oh, nice, I'm already logged in. That simplifies things greatly. Okay, stream manager, so it doesn't say I'm... Edit, okay, not playing ONI. Gonna call this... I guess we'll say Geoguessr. For now, anyway. Okay, thank you for reminding me of that. And this seems like a reasonable pausing point, so I'm going to take a little bio break. I will be back in just a few minutes. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, And this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital es
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Mord är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okuldayım. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant. Okay.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, ça, c'est ça, ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça, sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco. Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout Geoguessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nej. Nej. Come on. Igen. Jo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bambas. Okay, Bambas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500.
And we're back. Where do you do all this foraging, Tux 2? Okay. As we gonna play one more round of Geoguessr. A very striking mountain landscape here. And then we're gonna look at just a few clips to show you this video that I did, because I'm quite proud of it. I put a lot of work into it, and let's see. OK Foods. I mean, that's not a ringing endorsement. We welcome you to Berrydale. Cars are driving on the right, but that could actually just be down to the fact. Country Pumpkin, your good food restaurant. Like, is that a specialization of a restaurant there? Like, you have, like, Karua Art. Ik weet waar ons is. Dat is Zuid-Afrika. Het is die Karoo. Ja, maar is het die groot Karoo of die klein Karoo? There's... Okay, we are in... Okay, this is probably like the Svartberg, I think. Okay, I have a pretty good idea where we are then. Okay, goodbye Devon. Hello Karoo. Springbok Uppington. Okay, Kanav and Oudtshoorn. Beaufort West. Kruidfontein. Uniondale. Okay, we are very near the Svartberg. Van Wijkstok, Berrydale. Where they have a good food restaurant, which implies that they've got like a shite food restaurant as well. Kruisrivier, Buffelskloof, Kalidsdorp, Ladysmith. Fun fact, there are 2 Ladysmiths in South Africa. Berrydale, daar is ons. One is spelled with a Y and the other is spelled with an I, and they are in totally different parts of the country. $49.97. Okay. Gravel path. Very wooded area. This could be bloody anywhere so far. Okay. Not a whole... I mean... This could be a lot of places. It's kind of pretty. The yield sign does not say it. It does not have words written on it. So, that rules out the US. The bus sign looks like it... That bus stop sign looks like it might have words on it. Wait, how'd that happen? Arukula. Okay, we are either in Lithuania or Latvia. I am not sure which. Vermetsatalu. Okay, now that sounds Estonian. Could this be on the border between Estonia and, what is it, Latvia? Or... Ah, looks well, let's see. What do we get on this next bus stop? Leppoja. Okay, that sounds considerably more Estonian. Metsapole. Tuulikuu. I feel like this must be in the border zone between Latvia and Estonia, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Ahoy! Co se dzieje w Pradze? My se tu nacházím v Estně nebo Latvii. Kööpu, Pujatu, Vastemöisa, Estnia. Okay, I don't know where any of those places are. What was it? Kööpu, Pujatu, Vastemöisa. Okay, first hope in all of this is that maybe... Yeah, Completely kirei. なんか綺麗な田んぼと森とか。だけど、所在地を特定するには、クープちょっと物足りないわね。OK、クープは12キロの距離にあるのね。なんか南西方向だからキングアーロストレバイケクープPuja tu Raudna. じゃあその辺かな。エストニアよ。これは 100% エストニアのどういう中なの？ Couple Mei Sakura. $49.78. Not bad, considering I don't really know anything about where anything is in Estonia. Oh, see, again, just reminding me. Why I leave foraging to people who actually know how to do it. Okay, this feels like it might be Ireland. The paper shop. Paypoint. Okay. Paypoint makes me think actually possibly Britain. Sunmore Drive, Moreland Terrace, okay. Now I am definitely leaning towards Britain because of those street signs. 96 yards, okay, yeah, definitely not Ireland. I mean, if it is Ireland, it is... We're in Skipton. We're in Yorkshire. $49.97. Heard nice things about Skipton. Okay. Palm trees. Kagawa? Bueno, podríamos... A ver. Uminong ng Colt 45 tingnan ang print under the crown. Okay. We are in the Philippines. I'm just gonna say someplace around there. 3786. My immediate feeling is the US or Canada. No, please don't be blurry all the way. For sale, okay, yeah. English-speaking place, anyway. 219-874-4844. Okay. Definitely US or Canada, judging from that phone number. 219 area code, where is that? Okay. Oh, hang on, what was that just now? I think that might have been a speed limit sign. Okay, yes, it is. We're in the US. Wherever this is, it's the US. Is there a sign on this? What is this? Some sort of pumping station? fiddleheads exactly? I've heard of fiddlebacks, which is a sort of spider that you don't want to find in your sleeping bag. Not familiar with fiddleheads. Okay. Proud Union home. Right on. Oh, neat. Okay, so we are someplace in the US. I would probably say northern central. Though it could be. I mean, it does not feel like New England countryside, really. Let's see, are these informative bins? Or are these bins that belong to private companies? Another pumping station-y sort of place. And finally, we have some sunlight and some focus. And a road work ahead sign that somebody ran into with their car. Oh, what did that say a second ago? Just a speed limit, that doesn't give us anything new. Oh. Okay. Road resurfacing. Camp firewood for sale. Camping firewood, 219 area code. Okay, what's going on here? Come on, give me something. Give me a main road or something. I had actually read that as cute. Something about this landscape is like putting me to sleep. Wait a second, there was a sign there. Is that a sign that's useful? Duck wall. Duck wall drive. What the hell is a duck wall? Okay, we have a level crossing. Is that a wall built by ducks? Is it a wall consisting of ducks? Or is it, interestingly, a wall to keep ducks out? Oh, hey, okay. Thank you, we've got a main road. Leave Laporte, enter Porter. Rest area trucks only. Okay. I feel like we are on an interstate now. Or at the very least a US route. Something that will give us something that tells us where we are. LaPorte, I mean, that feels like that could be like Missouri someplace. But also Iowa, lots of places. Yeah, Illinois probably too. Michigan City, Westville, US 421. Okay. I'm going to follow a little hunch that Michigan City is actually in Michigan. There's no reason to believe this is necessarily the case. Wait, 41. Germfask. Great name there. Route 45. The duck wall. The ducks are on the march. They're coming for your jobs. Build that duck wall. Yes, indeed. Yes, we must build the duck wall. Okay, that's already Wisconsin. I'm just assuming that Michigan City must be in Michigan. There's no reason that it has to be. There's a Wichita Falls in Texas. Bad Axe. Great town name there. What was it again? 421. Westville, Michigan City. The ducks to replace you. The duck wall. Gays Mill. Dickeyville. $45. We're looking for 421 near something called Michigan City. Winona. Niobrara. There was some kind of major industrial disaster around there. Quite remember what the deal was. $24. Okay, what was it? 421. So we're looking for 21. 421 will be coming off of 21. There's 27, 23, 22, Okay, let's see. 224, 30. Let's see if we can get any more information out of this. I-80 and I-90. Oh, okay. I-80 and I-90 are both meeting up. Okay. Norwalk. Okay, probably someplace in northern Ohio. Oh hell, it was in Indiana. 3824. 22,582. And now we're going to just shift gears. We're gonna look a little, take a little look at the video that I made and posted just last night, and other useful and beautiful things. It's longish, but I've broken it down into chapters. Oh, wait, I gotta get my chat widget where I can see that thing. So we're gonna look at a few, just a few clips of it. I'm gonna drop the link into chat. We're definitely not gonna watch the whole thing, because it's 50 minutes long. There was a lot. What I did was, after that Evil D video that we looked at last week, where he was responding to Drongo English, who was just totally misrepresenting the input hypothesis, and Evil D was getting all sorts of basic shit wrong, and acting like certain things were mysteries when you could just look them up. I decided, okay, I should just do a video where we go into just the basics of the input hypothesis, look at what Krashen actually wrote, since it's actually pretty easy to find it. I mean, he makes, it's right on his website. You've got all of his publications, basically his entire career, and so I decided to look at that stuff and talk about what it actually says. So we're gonna just look at some clips of that. Oh, I'm glad.
Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. If you spend any time at all in language YouTube, one term you'll hear a lot is
That comprehensible input, which is
Of comprehensible input.
What is comprehensible input, or seek receiving
That guy has a great voice.
comprehensible input?
Comprehensible input versus
Getting enough comprehensible input. Anyway, I'm going to talk about comprehensible input.
Comprehensible input is the idea of
ways of providing comprehensible input to students. Most people call that comprehensible input.
yes, comprehensible input. Everybody talks about it eventually. There's something of a disjointed debate in the space about whether it's actually as good as some people, myself included, say it is, or whether it's
total.
The frustrating thing about this discussion, though, is that a lot of it does a less than ideal job of explaining what this comprehensible input stuff actually is, and really engaging with the theory around it. I'll admit, I haven't always been great at this myself. Week on stream.
Okay, I'm gonna just sort of cut through. You will notice if you look at the bottom, this is divided into like 10 chapters, so you can find the bits that you're most interested in, since it is a 50-minute video.
Deeply frustrating reaction video.
And again, if you're speaking those things and you know what they mean, then that is comprehensible, and it is a form of input.
Yeah, but that's not... Again, okay, this is actually really annoying. Like, this is, like, I mean, if you're going to address, engage with scientific work, you do have to actually know what the terms mean.
I think that the input hypothesis has errors and negatively affects millions of people trying to...
Citation needed.
I have
millions of people.
Again, I should have just let him finish his sentence.
Yeah, I mean, this is the griftiest shit ever. And it's really something that, I have to say, Evil D has been doing these things where it's like, is this person a fraud or something like that? And this isn't setting his grift meter, this isn't like burying the needle of the fraudometer that somebody is using, somebody's talking this way, doing this sort of positioning and stuff like that. Okay, skipping ahead to the meat of the thing.
I was rather disappointed to find that Evil D's performance indicated that he didn't even know the most basic things about it either. Of explaining his terms. Okay, what does it mean to acquire language? Is that the same thing as learning a language? What about understanding messages? What is this comprehensible input, and why would anyone think that that's the key ingredient in language acquisition? Kaguro treats this like it's some kind of mystery, as if we were left to speculate about the meaning of such central terms in second language acquisition theory. Evil DLS doesn't do any better, though he does come a bit closer to accurately guessing the meaning of these terms.
Very happy with how those titles came out.
In the interest of improving the quality of the discussion in this space and making this theoretical work even more accessible, I'm going to answer those questions here and now using Krashen's Principles and Practice in Second Language Acquisition, originally published in 1982 and re-released about 20 years later with updated citations and a few minor modifications. The main one being that in 1982, Krashen had the awkward then acquirer. In the scientific literature on language acquisition, they are two very different things. The acquisition learning distinction is perhaps the most fundamental of all the hypotheses to be presented here. It states that adults have two distinct and independent ways of developing competence in a second language. The first way is language acquisition, a process similar, if not identical, to the way children develop ability in their first language. Language acquisition is a subconscious process. Language learners are not usually aware of the fact that they are acquiring language, but are only aware of the fact that they are using the language for communication. Speakers acquire these rules without even knowing that they are rules, without formally learning them, quite simply because every bit of input in the language that they're exposed to follows them. There's no error correction here, because basically nobody ever gets them wrong. And because no native speaker ever gets them wrong, very few native speakers are even aware of them. It just feels right to say things one way and feels wrong to say them another way. And acquisition is the process by which the instinct for that is developed. So, in other words, when Krashen and other theorists and practitioners of language acquisition say that we acquire language through comprehensible input, they're talking about the process of developing this unconscious feel for how language works. Since this instinct operates unconsciously and is developed unconsciously, it's not something that can be formally taught in the normal sense, just coaxed along with the right kind of input in the right sort of setting. So, what exactly is this comprehensible input? Now, to answer this, it's worth looking at something called the natural order hypothesis in the same book. But only briefly, don't worry, we are going to stay more or less on track. One of the most exciting discoveries in language acquisition research in recent years, recent, that is, from the 1982 perspective, has been the finding that the acquisition of grammatical structures proceeds in a predictable order. Learners of a given language tend to acquire certain grammatical structures early and others later. And a lot of this stuff was new at the time. The question the input hypothesis seeks to answer is, how do we move from one stage to another? If a learner is at stage 4, how can he progress to stage 5? More generally, how do we move from stage I, where I represents current competence, to I+1, the next level? The input hypothesis makes the following claim: a necessary, but not sufficient, condition to move from stage I to stage I+1
Very happy with how these titles came out.
is that the learner understand input that contains I+1, where understand means that the learner is focused on the meaning and not the form of the message. In other words, we're not talking about any old input when we talk about the power of comprehensible input. We're not just talking about sitting in front of anime and expecting that that in itself is going to give you Japanese, competence in Japanese.
Though, I mean, to be clear, that isn't necessarily going to hurt any, because even if you're not understanding anything, it is going to help you get a feel for how it sounds, like word boundaries and stuff like that. I mean, it isn't going to hurt, but it probably, unless you're much more systematic about, like, picking the input, especially in the beginning stages. Later on, you can just go out into the world of input and just, like, find just about anything, and it will be comprehensible enough for you. But in the early stages, you have to be more careful because you don't have as much. In fact, this is one of the things that is talked about. The whole point of, like, teaching in an input-based setting and an input-based approach is to help learners get to the point where they can just kind of find all kind of just input in the real world, whether it's like people talking to them or television or books or whatever.
We're talking about input in the target language that contains aspects of the language the learner doesn't have yet. For example, someone in the early stages of English might have acquired the progressive ending, ing, the plural, and to be, but not articles, and the, or the use of to be in forming the progressive. That's initiated to some extent by the teacher, but everybody else is keeping it going by adding whatever they can think of in their target language. Well, okay, so what about speech? All this has been so far about passively taking in input. How does speech come into that? And what about these
receptive bilinguals?
God, he sounds so fucking like condescending Willy Wonka the way he talks.
They prove that this doesn't work. One of the things that language acquisition research has shown over the years is that learners, whether they're acquiring their first language or an additional one, have what is known as a silent period.
This is an extremely important concept, and why essentializing receptive bilinguals makes no sense. Because the point is, it takes you have to actually acquire the language to a certain extent in order to be able to spontaneously form utterances, even if they're full of mistakes, which they inevitably are at first. So that requires a certain amount of input, whether it's our first language or any other language, and you eventually overcome it if you're getting the right kind of stuff. If you're getting the same kind of input over and over again, you're not going to make any progress, because it's only going to be giving you things you've probably already acquired. Where their engagement with the target language is passive, taking it in, absorbing it without producing much other than maybe a few memorized words and phrases. There's no way to force an end to this period. It ends when the learner is ready.
In accordance with the input hypothesis, speaking ability emerges on its own after enough competence has been developed by listening and understanding.
In Principles and Practices, Krashen reviews a number of comparative studies of teaching methods that allow learners a silent period, and more conventional approaches, like those marketed by Kanguro English, that do not. They found that allowing learners a silent period results in superior competence both in comprehension and in the spontaneous speech that ultimately emerged, to forcing early speech. Now, what Kanguro is doing when he offers receptive bilinguals as some sort of rebuttal to whatever he imagines the input hypothesis is merely essentializing the silent period rather than recognizing it as what it is, a phase of language acquisition that is overcome when the learner has had enough comprehensible input for speech to emerge on its own. Silent period. Kanguro and Evil D declare themselves big believers in error correction. As it happens, I'm also big into error correction in some contexts where it's useful. That's why I'm making this video. And that's why I'm going to talk about an error that is unfortunately very common amongst foreign language teachers. The notion that correcting learners does anyone any good.
Closely related to speaking readiness for production is the question of error and error correction. Second language acquisition research tells us clearly that errors are inevitable and that they will be plentiful in early stages. A sure method of raising the filter is attempting to correct errors, especially in beginning stages.
This is an important concept that doesn't get... that a lot of discussions about comprehensible input doesn't, will sort of very vaguely touch on, but it's called the effective filter. And you have to understand that to know what kind of environment you need. So the point is, there are emotional barriers, psychological barriers to being able to really engage with input in the way you need to. And it really comes down to things like being self-conscious, being anxious, low motivation and stuff like that. The more motivated you are and the less anxious and self-conscious, the more you're going to be able to engage in the useful way that actually results in acquisition. And when you start correcting, when somebody starts speaking and you constantly correct them, that actually is going to get in the way of that, because then you don't know if you're going to be able to finish your sentence. It was hard enough for you to actually overcome the self-consciousness in the first place, and now somebody's going to go and say you got the subjunctive wrong. You were
especially in spoken language. Error correction is unfortunately the profession's typical reaction to error, and in my view, it has been a serious mistake. There are several reasons why it is a mistake.
Yeah, he goes into a lot of detail in this. I go into a fair bit of detail summarizing it, but, when you see people just saying, oh, well, it's common sense that error correction's a good idea, and, just dismissing the idea out of hand, that might not actually be so, it is really quite maddening. because there are good reasons. There are good reasons why error correction in particularly when it comes to speech, actually does not help.
We focus here on what is probably the most serious flaw in error correction. Its effect of, that should be on, the effective filter. Error correction has the immediate effect of putting the student on the defensive. It encourages a strategy in which the student will try to avoid mistakes, avoid difficult constructions, focus less on meaning and more on form. It may disrupt the entire communicative focus on an exchange. Wait, back up. What's this filter Krashen's on about? Well, in short, the effective filter refers to psychological barriers to language acquisition. In particular, those relating to motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety. Second language acquisition theory refers to this as a filter because it's not part of the language.
Now, and then since both of them in that video acted as if there was no concrete example of what input based instruction would actually look like there was like they were just responding to a blank slate or something like that. I go into some detail about looking at methods. I looked at in particular at Samani Zulu, whose channel, if you're looking to learn EC Zulu, I really can't recommend it enough. He has very sound ideas. And Natural Languages, that's Alvaro Era, you can see him in the top right corner there. Also, very good channel for, just discussion of language acquisition and ideas for how to make it work better.
We've addressed the theory. I'd like to briefly touch on practice. Both Evil D and Kanguro English seem completely and utterly unaware that input-based classroom approaches even exist, let alone what they look like. Listening to them, you could easily come away with the idea that the input hypothesis is completely agnostic on the subject. I wonder if Krashen has had anything to say about it. Oh, of course he has. The classroom will probably never be able to completely overcome its limitations. By which Krashen means the fact that there's always going to be much more input available in the real world that can ever be provided in a classroom setting. Nor does it have to. Its goal is not to substitute for the outside world, but to bring students to the point where they can begin to use the outside world for further acquisition, to where they can begin to understand the language used on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing. Really, in the further along somebody gets in the journey of language acquisition, the less curating will be needed in order to get them the kind of input they need. I mean, one of the things, motivation is a very key factor. Finding sources of input that are actually interesting makes a huge difference. I mean, the more you actually care about what's being talked about, the easier it is to just focus on it and focus on what's being talked about rather than focusing on what how they're saying it and stuff. And that is a really key takeaway on all of this.
It does this in two ways. By supplying input so that students progress in language acquisition, so that they understand real language to at least some extent, and by making the student conversationally competent. That is, by giving the student tools to manage conversations despite a less than perfect competence in the second language. More specifically, he writes, if we are correct in positing comprehensibility as a crucial requirement for students built up enough competence through comprehensible input, is perhaps the single most anxiety-provoking.
There's actually a guy who does Russian TPRS on YouTube. I've looked at I think one or two of his videos on here at some point. I'll have to pull up his name. If you just look up target language and TPRS, on YouTube, you will find some pretty good stuff, especially to get you started.
Anything about language classes. While some students may want to talk as soon as possible, others may feel less secure until they have built up more competence. In other words, the length of the silent period is variable. Asher's 10-hour estimate may be average, but it is not carved in stone. A safe procedure is simply not to force production, and let the student decide when. Here on YouTube, one suggested search term is language name TPRS.
他不在家，他在酒吧。
Uomo. Questo è un uomo. Uomo.
Yeah, Max, that's the one. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I recognize his face, but not his name.
Questa è una donna. Donna. Questa è una donna. Si amano. Si amano. Allora si sposano. Matrimonio.
Αυτή είναι μια οικογένεια.
Greek TPRS.
Αυτός είναι ο μπαμπάς. Αυτή είναι η μαμά.
Oh yeah, I've got Max in here.
За продуктами. Я хотел приготовить мой любимый рис со специями и овощами.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does a really good job with the enunciating and with the choice of I almost said vegetables. I meant visuals here.
이 볼드모트는 코가 없어요. 코가 없어요. 태웅이는 코가 있어요. 그리고 이 볼드모트는 머리카락이 없어요.
Vaya, ¿cómo van a viajar? Y Yoko Ono de Nueva York a Tíbet.
Well, the key, is just if you find that it is actually helping, if you find that you're like understanding at least some of what's going on in there and you're enjoying it, then just go with it. That, I mean, if you take anything away, that is, I mean, those are two key things. If you're getting at least some of what's being said, and you're enjoying what you're watching, what you're listening to, or like the conversation you're having or whatever, then you're probably on the right track. There's no need to second guess yourself at that point.
Máquina teletransportadora.
And this is a Zoom-based TPRS class here. Yeah, that's Alvaro Era from Natural Languages.
Der Küchenschrank. Das ist ein Küchenschrank. Und was sehen wir hier? Wir sehen...
The material I'm using here comes from a great channel called Zamani Zulu.
And here's what an in-person version looks like.
It uses input-based methods to help learners acquire EC Zulu. Zamani Zulu is operated by Brian, who himself started learning the language by conventional methods, the sort of methods Krashen and other input theorists would refer to as language learning rather than language acquisition at university.
So you mentioned that you started teaching Zulu with the traditional approach first, and then you have that aha moment, right?
Yes. Grammar, yeah.
Yeah. So did you feel the difference? I mean, in your students' experience right away, like could you see that right away? Like they were having so much fun.
And this is what I'd be doing.
having both experienced the deficiencies of the conventional skills-based approaches and the power of comprehensible input firsthand, here's how Brian helps learners acquire isiZulu. There are a number of things to notice here. For one thing, check out the wall behind Brian. You've got all sorts of helpful information, useful phrases, and the like, in order to make it easier for the learners to join in. If they don't know where they need, they can just look right up at the board and find the isiZulu for how do you say X in isiZulu. Which, for anyone interested,
one thing, I don't go into this because it's actually more detail, it's more of a detail level than, a deeper level than I was trying to go into on this video, which is more an introduction to the basic concepts, is Krashen talks about what he calls fine-tuned input. And, like, the impulse to want to try to find input that is exactly at whatever I+1 is for, like, specific learners or something like that. And the short version is, he says, you don't need to. I mean, that, like, first language acquisition, nobody's giving fine-tuned input there. It's just, like, at least some of it is containing the things that are needed in order to advance an acquisition. And that's basically all that matters. So, in that sense, there's no need to get, super obsessive about finding the exact right kind of stuff. If you're finding it enjoyable and you're finding it helpful and you're comprehending at least some of the important things about what's going on, especially if you feel like you're getting more and more out of it, then you're probably in the right place, and there's no need to overthink it too much. Which is kind of redundant.
Ngingasho kanjani ukuthi X ngesiZulu. You can see it to the bottom right on the top bit above the whiteboard there. The idea here is to encourage production without actually forcing anyone to produce before they're ready. And since a lot of the time people are not going to have the words that they need in order to make the sort of...
Okay, well that is the overall... I'm not going to watch the entire thing, but you can get an idea of what this video is about. I spent like the past week pretty much every day putting that together. There was a lot of moving parts to get in there. Quite happy with how it came out. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please like share it around to people who you think might be interested in stuff too. Yeah. And let me just say, if you're enjoying the stream and you would like to contribute to the stream, that is always appreciated. It's a kind of a hard time for translators in general, so this, contributions to my projects like the Nesarmal Translation Project, the stream, videos like this are a real lifeline and are always very, very much appreciated. So, but nobody should feel obliged if they can't. But if you can and you want to, just know I am very grateful. And we've got like about a half hour to go. Let me just drop, if you do want to. There are 2 links you can use. We've only got about a half hour to go, and I thought we could, let me see. What have we got here? Well, there's another Evil D video. We'll have a look at that.
What's up, grinders?
I've never heard of Peter Coles, but apparently he's a fraud. or allegedly one. As I said, I know nothing about it, but that's the title of this video. I have to say, I am very, very conflicted about this sort of, like, investigating type content in this space. I don't know, like, there are definitely grifters. There are definitely some dodgy people selling dodgy approaches to language acquisition and stuff like that, and I think it is certainly important to, like, address that. But some of the way in which that's being done, on the other hand, somebody in chat likened it to, like, transvestigating, and I mean, some of it kind of gets into, like, borderline toxic territory. So I have a lot of reservations, but here's the link to the original video. Let me just drop that in chat for anyone who's interested. It's Evil D again, who we were just looking at.
Back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing another polyglot investigation. This time we're going to be looking into Peter Cole's languages. Now this is his Instagram right here. As it says, I speak over 25 languages fluently, which is quite the claim. And here you can see a list of videos where he speaks snippets of each one of these languages. Now, he has been asked about this numerous times before, because obviously this is quite a crazy claim. For example, someone right here, how many languages do you speak? And again, Peter says, around 25, I speak them all on my Instagram and TikTok. So it's not just something that has been left in the description of Instagram from his younger years. This is something he's still claiming to this day. Now, if we head over to his YouTube channel, we see a
I'm interested in this. I'm interested in the use of the word around there.
I speak over 25 languages fluently, so he's still claiming that, and it's just really a redirect to his Instagram account. Although it has videos uploaded here, they're the same ones on Instagram, and it's just less frequent. Now, he also has an official webpage, so if we have a look right here, you can get a free book,
A basic guide to speaking every language in the world. I mean, okay. See, if I had one overarching critique of these sorts of investigations, it's that the real place, I would say, to spend time on this, the real area to spend time looking into things is actually the methods that are being sold in the, you know, because there's a lot of dodgy methods, like a lot of stuff with like ridiculous claims about how quickly you can learn, and it turns out their idea is just you're going to memorize some phrases, and that's not how that works.
Courses, Telegram channel, YouTube, Instagram, all that type of stuff. And basically how he operates is he is a middleman between the students and the teachers. So he finds students and redirects them to teachers. And as you can see right here, I find a comprehensive list of the amazing teachers I've had contact with over the past years. And then if we click on the languages, it basically lists out the languages of teachers that he has worked with and that he recommends. So he's not the one teaching here.
Okay, that's interesting. And you have to wonder, are these teachers getting a good deal out of that?
Acts as a intermediary. Now, as with all investigations,
I mean, is he taking a cut? I mean, I have no idea. I've never heard of this guy.
What we do is we open up a Google Doc, link will be in the description, and we basically analyze both his language courses, where there is data available, and then also his language abilities by looking at videos that he has actually publicly put out there.
And let me just say, this is one of the problems. On the one hand, I have to say, you look at these, you look at these documents, and there are, like, objective criteria being used in there and stuff like that. But on the other hand, you get a lot of sort of what you could call fundamental attribution errors, where somebody makes a mistake, somebody misspeaks or something like that, and it happens this one time in this one video, and there's more than one explanation for that. Either that is a limit to their competence in the language, or they misspoke. And the only way you can really know either of those things, which it is if you actually spend a lot of time watching somebody speak. So, I mean, Yeah, and so, like, for example, we were seeing this with, like, the Miquel Telleria video, and it was like, yeah, he makes a bunch of, like, mistakes. He stumbles on a bunch of things in the videos that they were looking at. But people do that. People who are native speakers do that in their, like, native languages. You need more in order to be sure. Like, if I were to be using this evidence to make the extremely strong claim that somebody is a fraud, a lot of the time, I would, my only conclusion would be, more evidence is required.
And then analyze those.
I haven't watched this, so I'm not saying that specifically about this. I've never heard of Peter Coles, I've never seen this video before, but it is something that caution is really required with this sort of thing.
The European Common Framework of Reference.
And the other thing about it is, it only takes into account speaking in a very specific context. In the context of, like, making these videos, which not everybody is really great at that kind of speaking. You know, not everybody is great at speaking into a microphone specifically, and that's something you got to take into account. But the other thing is, there's other kinds of competence in a language. And just because somebody stumbles when speaking does not mean that they aren't understanding what they're hearing. Maybe they don't get to talk often. Maybe they were nervous. There are a million... I mean, and if you want to talk about this stuff, you got to actually really take all those possibilities into account.
Now, as you can see, this has been quite a large-scale one because he speaks or claims to speak 25 languages.
I mean, I will say he does not just these are not just takedowns. Like, he did one on Lindsay Bodas, and that I haven't watched it, but I mean, he described it as a positive one. But of course, one of the things I've noticed, like in the Discord, for example, where I don't really participate too much there because I don't participate even in a lot of Discords. It's hard to keep track of all the different places to talk. But, like, he, like, said very early on this is going to be a positive one, which also kind of biases the process. I mean, it's like there are lots of things like that, and it's why I would spend more time, like, critiquing the methods people propose than necessarily going after the person based on what is often very insufficient evidence.
And in total, we had 74 pages of basically information available for you. So if you want to see...
Like, if you were going to do this, that is not a bad starting point. Like...
to the link in the description below. Now, one thing I want to point out is that he doesn't actually teach languages himself. He acts as a middleman. He finds students and then redirects...
Wait, 480 quid a month? Oh, wait, okay, he charges 480 quid a month for a Romanian language teacher that gives $26 an hour lessons on italki. So, okay, italki is already a fucking middleman in this thing. Italki is getting a cut, is my understanding of how they make money. He's taking a cut on top of italki's cut to recommend somebody who's on italki. Okay, I will say, without even knowing anything else about this guy's language, that is dodgy as hell. Like, that is an enormous amount to be spending... that is an enormous cut just to recommend somebody.
Redirects them to teachers. But the difference here is that he redirects them at a markup cost, quite a considerable one. It's almost
like
50% in some instances. As you can see, I'm just highlighting information here for you. He has a Russian teacher, she only charges $35.
I mean, because this is also, I will say this, from the point of view of somebody who is a language service provider, that's the thing. The reason that something like this happens is somebody, just because you're on these sites like italki or like the one for translators, the big one that is actually becoming more and more of a ghost town actually is Prose, and everything is, you're on the site for like, where people try to find translators, but or teachers in the case of italki, but that doesn't mean people find you.
An hour if you go find her, but then he charges a lot more. And it's the same with the Hungarian teacher, etc., etc. Now, there's no information about whether these teachers follow any specific, unique method that he has actually created, or whether he just simply redirects them. Now,
Yeah. I simply find problems that need solving and make money from that.
And he often does questions and answers where he responds to people's questions about, what he does, because he's not teaching the languages. So what does he do?
I simply find problems that need solving, and I don't have a job. I simply find problems that need solving and make money from that. Is like the line in like the introductory dialogue in a movie about like some sort of I don't know, a dodgy grifter bagman sort of person. That is the sort of the dialogue, somebody, this character is like buys a bunch of people drinks, and somebody's like, so what do you do? He goes, oh, I don't have a job. I simply find problems that need solving and make money from that. That immediately just...
And he says, I don't have a job, I simply find
very
problems
Del
that he's
Boy.
solving and make money from doing that. Everything I do is on my phone. So again, he's the middleman. Now, finding the list of actual languages that he speaks is quite hard, but he has referenced it in different places, for example, in a question and answer where he gives this list of languages which doesn't quite match some other locations, but it's close enough. Now,
yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about this guy's language abilities, but immediately, like, he's practically doubling the cost of that Romanian teacher. Like, for what, exactly? I mean, the Romanian teacher's happy because somebody with a big platform is sending work their way. Okay, I get that. But, I mean, he's just for, like, advertising, giving his endorsement, which... So far, we have not seen what his endorsement is worth to anyone other than this teacher. Like, if somebody... I mean, that... Wow.
He has also been asked specifically about his abilities
that is
in certain
dodgeball.
languages. For example, here, he was asked about his Chinese-speaking abilities, and as you can see, he says that he's at an intermediate level, and then we've also got a link to an interview where he also talks about that. Now, one thing he has been heavily critiqued about is the fact that nearly all of his videos are heavily scripted and edited. So he scripts them and then cuts out, pretty much everything that probably makes him look bad.
Yeah, but, I mean, also, here's the thing, though. Yeah, that... See, if the idea is to provide evidence of one's ability, script, first of all, that is not what most people, like, in language YouTube are making their spaces about, making their channels about. But the thing is, if you're writing that script in your target language and then delivering that script in your target language, that is also, I mean, that's not something to, like, that is not something to sneeze at. Like, I've got a video on here, one of the earliest videos I put up. My production values were really shite, but it was an entire video, I think it was about 30 minutes long, done in Korean, about phonetic conversion between Japanese and Korean pronunciations of Chinese characters. Like, if you wrote the script and you delivered it, that should not count. That absolutely should not count against you.
Or at least, makes it flow better. And he's actually responded to this publicly.
Alcune persone qui hanno suggerito che non so parlare nessuna lingua e che sto solo fingendo. Puoi immaginare quanto sarebbe difficile realizzare questi video in una lingua che non parli. Per esempio, non so parlare in albanese e non riesco ad immaginare quanto sarebbe difficile realizzare un video parlato in albanese. Alcuni si sono lamentati del fatto che ci sono dettagli nei miei video. Ci sono dettagli anche nei miei video in inglese e tedesco. Non è facile parlare con...
Okay, his eyes are like trying to hypnotize me or some shit.
Così per un lungo periodo di tempo. Altri hanno detto che i miei video sono falsi perché sono sceneggiati. Ovviamente sono sceneggiati. Non pensi che io so parlare in italiano? Ecco una mia foto durante la mia lezione B2 all'Università di Perugia nell'anno 2017. La soluzione credo è fare più interviste e podcast con i creatori dove posso parlare per un periodo di tempo più lungo. Comunque, che tu credo o no, che io sappia parlare queste lingue, grazie per essere qui.
Okay. I mean...
Okay, so basically there was two things that came out of this video. The first one was saying that he pretty much edits everything because he can't...
Yeah, but I mean, as he points out, that is actually kind of a normal thing. Lots of people do that. Lots of people, like, cut out bits where they, like, flub lines and stuff on all sorts of things. That, I mean, is not inherently dodgy. Like, that is nowhere near... The dodgiest thing about this guy is the amount of markup he's taking on recommending these italki teachers.
Talk for long periods of time. It's quite difficult. As a creator...
Like, I get the impression... I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure he scripted that Italian because his eyes are very glued to something that's in front of him, and that suggests that he was reading it. But there were enough, like, little grammatical issues that I think he wrote it himself. He didn't just, like, he didn't just pass that off to somebody else. And, I mean, he pronounced it mostly quite well. There were a couple of things, like, the double Z in Italian is a Z, not a Z, and stuff like that. But I get the impression that he does, that he does have some, he definitely has some Italian, and if he was in Perugia doing B2 Italian, I would imagine there was something there.
I've made videos in the past where I've spoken for 8 minutes flat in Esperanto without any edits. Now, I do edits in more, like, recent videos, just because, like, I do want to make them flow better, but if...
Yeah, I mean, and one thing to note, I didn't know this about him until the video, the frustrating one we watched last week. This guy's training is as an actor. He is necessarily going to be better at delivering lines than a lot of people on YouTube, just because that is one of the things that, that you are good at as an actor. Both delivering lines that you're reading and delivering lines that are ad-libbed, like what I'm doing right now. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that he would need fewer edits, actually.
You're trying to prove your language abilities, the best thing is just to not add any edits. Even if it makes it flow a little bit better and make it more enjoyable, then it kind of hides stuff. The second thing
But the thing is that really what most of the time people are doing when they are uploading videos in different languages? Like, I mean, I have a video that was like a proof of, like, fluency video that I did at one point for an organization I joined. But other than that, like, mostly the reason you're making videos in languages about languages is to talk about those things. And I think it is worth interpreting the stuff in that light, rather than, making fundamental attributions and stuff. Like, I will accept on the basis of that he has okay Italian. There's still,
he said the way he should prove himself then, or he suggests to his audience is, well, maybe I'm going to go speak to creators and, just do long form interviews and stuff like that, which would definitely be a better way of proving yourself. Now, I actually asked him about this when I started making this video. I said, "Hi Peter, please contact me at my email address. I'm conducting a language analysis of your abilities for a video I'm producing. Would love to have you do chats with natives to test your abilities in the languages you know." Now, I dropped this on his YouTube video and also on other videos because, well, he doesn't have a publicly available email address that I could find. Now, if you have a look here, this is that same video. I've just scrolled back down. This was actually a day after I posted that. My comment is gone. It's not even hidden. It's completely gone. So he obliterated my comment. Now, maybe this was, I don't know, YouTube picking up an email address and going, yeah, no, this is not welcome here, and deleting it. So I left a comment on his Telegram, basically saying the exact same thing. And Telegram doesn't have any, like, automated system that deletes stuff about, email addresses and things like that. And it was also removed from what I can tell. Finally, I left one on his Instagram. Same story. It's gone as well. And this all happened within about an hour of me leaving all of these comments because I checked, and then other members of my community checked that they're just gone. So obviously that means I can't test his abilities beyond what he's publicly put out there. And it also doesn't mesh too well with what he was saying, because I have a much larger platform than him, and if the action is contradictory, and that could be due to age, so...
Okay, let me see. Now I'm curious. He said he had a much larger platform than this Peter Coles Languages guy. I'm gonna just look this guy up. Oh no, I've already got another window there. Okay, fine. Peter Coles Languages, 23K. I mean, they're at roughly the same level. No, wait, that's not his channel. Oh, he only has 200. Well, if that's... He only has 255 subscribers? Yeah, he does have a... Okay, he has, like, a massively bigger platform. Jesus. Like, he must have a much bigger platform in other places. Let me see. On... What is that? That looks like Instagram, maybe? 59,000 followers on... I think that's Instagram. So, okay, he's just not big on YouTube. He's big elsewhere.
We've basically put it where we think it should go based on his claims. Now, he says, I speak over 25 languages fluently. If you have a look of the list...
No, the thing about the term fluently is that it is imprecise. That does not necessarily mean without mistakes. That means... ja, hallo GG. Like, fluently is not necessarily a huge, that does not actually necessarily give us a whole lot to go on in terms of his level. He's not saying C1, C2. And of course, the thing about this is the framework is better than a lot of things out there for like judging these things. But even you have to also recognize it's quite all these things are going to be imperfect because all of these assume an order in which things don't necessarily happen.
Languages, which is basically the ones under the levels here, where we have video evidence, that does not equal 25 languages. So there is no public proof of him speaking even 25 languages from what I can tell. Now, he also claims some high level in some languages which there is absolutely no video proof for, and that's the purple ones over on the right hand side. So we can only go on what is actually available to us. So this claim of I speak over 25 languages fluently, not 25, over 25, it's just not publicly provable. He does not have enough...
Which also, I mean, does not I mean, it's kind of odd that somebody would not just make the list there, I will say. I mean, I will say when you have a larger number of working languages, especially when you have some that are actually people are hesitant to count them as separate languages because they're so close. You can kind of lose count, but it's like to have no specification of them is a bit weird. To like over 25, like why over? Like why not just list the one? So learn from the best in the game. Yeah, I mean, not really seeing it, especially how is he the best in the game when all he's doing is connecting people with other people who he takes a huge like a huge markup
content
from
online to prove that he speaks 25 languages. Now, maybe he does, but publicly he has not proven this. So
Mam jedno pytanie. Uredu, gdzie możemy zakryć ciała? Jeśli ludzi nie govori to mama.
Now, if that seems strange, let me explain what he does on his channel.
I will say the first thing that I pick up on there, I mean, this can just be not being a great actor, but and that can affect your line reading and stuff like that because he is acting out a sketch there. But I don't. The emphasis pattern does not sound like he knows. Like it isn't the emphasis pattern you'd expect from somebody who understands every single word individually.
He makes a lot of skits of Duolingo, where he shows off learners of Duolingo just saying bizarre sentences within the language.
Oh, that's what this is.
Now, normally that would be fine as a channel, you know, it's a comedy channel, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Duolingo does say some weird shit.
That doesn't prove language abilities in any way. And in fact, it helps you hide your abilities because any mistake that you can make, you can say is actually part of the skit. But that is the biggest...
Yeah, I mean, and there was a grammatical error in there because they said ne govorito mama, and either that is ne govorito mamo, you know, if you're saying that to mom, or...
amount of content that
I mean, it's that was nominative case, and that should either have been dative or vocative.
For him speaking Croatian. So that's what we have to go off. Now, this is going to be very...
Well, yeah, in which case, if that's what you have to go off, then what you've got to say is, you know, you can't really judge it on that. That, to me, would be the serious way of doing this.
Common for most of his languages. Now, his personal estimation was A1 to B1 estimation can survive within it. So...
Yeah, can survive in... First of all, I mean, it's like, if that's your entire claim, that's not a... I feel like it becomes... it's a bit unnecessary to be investigating somebody's claim of just being basically... barely, you know... I can survive in sounds like barely able to say anything, and that isn't really much of a claim. And it does not, I mean, can survive in is a separate, he had a separate category. He says, like, he had a list of fluently and a list of can survive in. I wouldn't even bother with the stuff that he says can survive in.
Again, what does can survive in mean? I actually put up a poll on my YouTube channel which has thousands of votes about that.
I mean, I would imagine can survive in, I would have said like A1, A2, actually. But, I mean, the way to do this is not by having people guess what they think that means. You'd have to actually find out what the person saying it thinks it means. Otherwise, you're trying to prove or, you know, falsify a claim they may not have made.
And most people say it's probably a B1. Personally, I think it would be lower, like survive is like, you know, where is the toilet type of thing, but that's...
Yeah, that's where I am. I agree with them. To me, can survive in is not making any claim to being able to express yourself at all in a refined way. It means, like, just the most... The basic things that you would absolutely need in order to walk around, you know, to get on in the language without any further information, you know, without any particular refinement. And I notice the time is running out. It's time to wrap up and start thinking dinner thoughts and possibly oiling this chair because I'm really getting sick of the fucking haunted house-ass creaking it's making. But I will be back at 4:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time tomorrow. And if you just got here, let me give you again the link to the video, to my new video, which is... I'm quite happy with. I'm quite proud of it. And I hope everybody enjoys it. Have a good evening, and see you tomorrow.